Australia is the oldest, flattest, and driest inhabited continent in the world. It is the sixth largest country with a landmass of 7.6 million square kilometers and has a population of 26 million people. Once a British penal colony, Australia has grown and developed into one of the richest and most powerful countries in the world. Because it is an isolated island nation, Australia's wildlife has evolved into some of the strangest and most unique animals on the planet. These include the kangaroo, the koala, the Tasmanian devil, and the strange and bizarre platypus. It is said that the country of Australia is also home to some terrifying and undiscovered species as well. In today's episode, we will examine cryptid species from Australia. The Burrunjor is described as a giant bipedal reptile 15 to 20 feet tall, resembling a Tyrannosaurus rex. The creature is said to inhabit the Northern Territory region of Australia. Early Aboriginal accounts describe a ferocious reptile whose diet consisted of kangaroos, crocodiles, and occasionally even humans. In the 1950s, Australian ranchers reported finding bipedal reptilian tracks from a creature who was killing their livestock. In 1957, a group of ranchers were driving their herd of cattle through the Northern Territory. They stopped along the banks of the MacArthur River and made camp for the evening. The men were awakened around 1 a.m. as their herd began to panic. The ranchers reported hearing loud roaring and grunting when they suddenly saw the silhouette of a large, upright creature run into the nearby woods. At daybreak, the ranchers discovered several mutilated cattle, one of them being half-eaten. In 1978, Brian Clark went for a hike in the remote wilderness region of Arnhem Land. When Clark failed to return from his hike, a mounted policeman and 2 Aboriginal trackers went out in search of him. After a long day of riding and searching, the 3 men set up camp for the evening and would resume the search in the morning. The men were awakened in the middle of the night to the ground shaking. When they got up, the men heard growling and snorting from what sounded like a huge animal. Terrified, the men jumped on their horses and rode back to town, abandoning their gear. 2 days later, Brian Clark managed to find his way out of the wilderness. The policeman warned Clark to never return to that area because if he ever got lost there again, they would not come looking for him. Tales of the terrifying Bunyip date back thousands of years in Aborigine culture. Descriptions of the beast are varied and diverse. However, it is agreed that the Bunyip is a huge, semi-aquatic creature which inhabits the swamps, billabongs, and inland waterways of Australia. It has often been described as a cross between a crocodile and a saber-toothed cat. In January of 1846, an unusual skull was discovered along the banks of the Murrumbidgee River in New South Wales. Aborigines who saw the skull said that it was from a bunyip. The The skull was put on display at the Australian Museum in Sydney, where it created a sensation. Huge crowds flocked to see the skull. Several experts who examined the skull said that it was probably from a deformed skull of a young horse or calf. In March of 1846, the Bunyip was reportedly sighted on the banks of the Yarra River in Melbourne. A crowd gathered along the opposite bank to view the creature. 3 men got into a boat and rowed across the river to get a better look. The creature vanished into the water as the men approached. The Bunyip has since become a popular figure in Australian folklore and in children's stories. A statue of the Bunyip now stands in the courtyard of the State Library of Victoria. The Megalania is a giant monitor lizard, and fossil records confirm that the creature actually existed in Australia during the Pleistocene era, between 2.6 million and 12,000 years ago. This would have brought the creature into contact with early Aboriginal settlers. Recent sightings, however, have suggested that the Megalania still exists to this day. In 1890, the town of Aurora was terrorized by a giant 30-foot-long lizard which attacked and killed livestock on local farms. Many witnesses reported seeing the creature before it crawled back into the bush. In 1979, a farmer from the town of Moruya reported seeing a 25-foot-long lizard. The creature left behind footprints, of which several plaster casts were made. Believed to be a much larger cousin of the recently discovered Komodo dragon, scientists are still searching for evidence of this elusive beast. The Yowie is described as an upright walking, ape-like creature standing 6 to 10 feet tall and is similar to the North American Bigfoot. The Yowie inhabits the wilderness regions of eastern Australia, and stories of the creature exist in Aboriginal legends dating back thousands of years. Many recent sightings of the Yowie suggest that the creature may actually exist. In 1996, a couple from Newcastle reported seeing a tall, upright creature covered in shaggy hair. It had long arms and no neck and was spotted walking along the side of the road near the town of Braidwood. In 1997, mango farmer Katrina Tucker saw the creature walking around her property. Photographs were taken of footprints found on her farm. In 2012, a television crew from the Animal Planet captured an audio recording of what is reported to be a Yowie. In October of 2014, Kathleen Donahue and Connor O'Brien reported seeing the Yowie in Queensland and claimed to have captured the beast on video. Being completely isolated from the rest of the world, Australia's wildlife has evolved into various types of unique and unusual species. This may also explain why Australia is home to strange and unusual species of cryptid creatures. The land down under is truly a land of wonder and intrigue. This concludes today's episode of the Paranormal Report. If you enjoyed today's video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. The team at the Paranormal Report really appreciates your support.